Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draws are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. Remember, when you become a member of GoHunt.com/insider, you're going to get a $50 gift card to Go Hunt Gear Shop. What's in the gear shop? The best gear that you can buy for hunting the West. All in all, if you're hunting out West in 2018, GoHunt.com/insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. I think I'm up to over 530 episodes now, so it's been quite a journey, and it's Friday, so we're kicking back with Dave Barrett from Pro Talk Outdoors and in a rut on CarbonTV. And Dave's big on conservation and hunter recruitment, and we're going to talk about that. But also last year was his best year in the field, where he took two mature bucks of over 6.5 years old, or at 6.5 years old. So having said that, Dave, welcome to the show, and I'm just excited to have my listeners, listen to you and hopefully follow you on Pro Talk Outdoors. Excuse me.
Well, Bruce, thanks so much for having me on. And, I've been a fan of your show and what you're doing for quite some time. And I think we probably share a lot of the same listeners and, just folks that enjoy good outdoor podcasting and good stories and information about whitetails.
It's quite a fame thing. Let's just throw this out. Why'd you start Pro Talk Outdoors? What was the beginning?
Well, I'll tell you what, Pro Talk Outdoors in the beginning was something that we wanted to get started and just get some more information out there for folks. And I'll admit that Pro Talk Outdoors was kind of a selfish thing for me. I selfishly started the podcast because I wanted to be able to have conversations with folks that I had a great deal of respect for and things that I could learn from them. So, you're talking about your Mark Drurys, your Lee Lakoski, Bill Winkies, Don Higgins. I mean, there's so many great names of folks that we've had on our show that I've been able to learn a lot from, and I have a great deal of respect for them. So that's kind of the beginning of Pro Talk Outdoors. And as we've grown and started our show on CarbonTV called In a Rut, our team has grown dramatically. We've got 6 or 7 members now that are out there shooting video for us all the time, and I really feel good about using our platform the way we have to promote conservation and hunter recruitment and just doing things the right way. I think that too often in today's day and age, you see with social media some negative light shed or some bickering back and forth within the outdoor industry, and that's kind of the thing we want to squash, and we want to make sure that we're all working together to promote the greater good of the outdoors and hunting, our hunting heritage.
Mark Canyon's coming out with a I don't know if you follow Mark on Wired to Hunt, but
Yeah, sure
he
do.
came out recently. He had a Instagram post, and then he just followed that up. He on one of his podcasts, and the perception of hunting, not from our eyes, but from the people that are looking at us. And yeah, we're under scrutiny. And I sent Mark a little note and said, the hunter's perspective might not be the right perspective. And you chew on that
Right.
for a while, and we're all about what we know, and we're comfortable, in our camo and all that. But other people look at us and go, "What's up with these guys and gals?" And it's up to us to reach across whatever chasm there is, and and get people involved or have a conversation, that's meaningful. Not, oh, you don't hunt. Well, that's the wrong way to start. It's like, yeah, I love hunting. It's part of my tradition, and yeah, I love to talk to you about it. Let's go have a beer. Let's have a cup of coffee or whatever, and just have a conversation about why you like to hunt. Because folks, people need to know why you like to hunt, not just seeing your pictures. The grips and grins are great.
You know,
God, go ahead.
yeah, no, you're exactly right, Bruce. And if you look at it like this, there is a very small percentage, something around 4% of folks hunt. Actually go out and hunt. And then there's a very small percentage on the other end of that I would call your just absolute anti-hunters, people that just despise everything that we do and don't understand what we do. And then there's that huge chunk of folks in the middle that they're indifferent. They're influenced by what we do. I mean, are we putting the best message out there to let them know about exactly why we hunt? I'll give you an interesting something that Mark Drury. We just had Mark on our podcast again, and he had said something to me that I found very interesting, and I'm probably going to screw this up and not say it the right way, but I'll try. He was talking about a conversation that he had with somebody that is very popular in social media. I don't know who it was, didn't ask him for the person's name, but we're talking like 1 million followers or so that didn't hunt, had no interest in hunting, no background in hunting at all. Mark asked the guy, or the guy asked Mark, he said, well, I don't think that I'd be interested in going out and shooting an innocent animal. And Mark said, well, you're looking at that wrong. It's not about shooting an innocent animal. It's about feeding yourself. And I think that really kind of hit home with that gentleman, because Mark's actually going to take him out hunting this fall, and the guy's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes out. But the whole point of that story being, most of us eat meat. Most of us will go out and eat a steak at a restaurant, or we'll go through the McDonald's drive-through, or we'll go to the grocery store and we'll pick something up. The thing is we have to take responsibility as hunters that we're actually going out and we're harvesting our food, and that's what it's more about than anything.
Yeah, and that's well taken. And people, on social media, they don't see the end result. And there are people to talk about it. Chef Derek St. Romain, if you've never had him on the show, invite him on your show, because he's really a good chef, and he's got great recipes. But he talks about the end product and the enjoyment of sitting down with friends, family, and having a great meal. From the venison, just a great meal, and that provides a platform of we're enjoying the hunt just as much when we're sitting down and having that meal as when we were out and hunted that deer or the elk or whatever you're harvesting, duck and pheasant and all of that, because we're hunters, and the end result of hunting is eating the game. And I say to people all the time, they say, well, why do you hunt? I said, well, because I truly enjoy the journey, every aspect of it. It's an adventure for me. Plus, the meals are outstanding. And instead of going to the grocery store and picking up something wrapped in cellophane, I know where it came from. I know where it's processed, and I'm preparing it just the way I want to prepare it. And I said, it's a whole experience. And I said, when you go and buy your steak, do you eat meat? And they say, yeah. I said, so the experience, I can go back to packing that elk out as part of the experience. The value of that meal, it skyrockets when you do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you mentioned a chef that you had on your show. We had Jeremiah Dowdy on our show a couple times. Jeremiah is, he's a wild game chef, does a fantastic job. And something that I really didn't understand this or think about this from the standpoint, but, uh, and I'm probably going to get the figure wrong, but it was over 30 and maybe even over 60 different people or machines that touch the average piece of meat that you buy in the grocery store before it gets to you. I mean, if you think about all the hormones that are injected into this stuff, and who knows where this meat came from? I mean, did it sit on a loading dock for 6 hours in the sun before it got loaded onto a cool trailer to get to where you're at? Who knows? When we go out and we hunt and we harvest this game, we know exactly where it came from. We were the hands that touched it. We took responsibility in harvesting our food, and it makes that meal so much sweeter. Not to mention just more organic and healthy. Whenever we feed it, we eat it and we feed our family and friends with it as well.
Yeah, my friend Sam Ayers living in the country. He lives in L.A., works in Hollywood, and he talks to people in L.A. all the time. He says, "I got the best organic meat in the world," and they kind of look at him. Well, where do you get it? He says, "I'm a hunter," and so
Right.
it just takes him back. But it's the original organic meat, and everybody's into organic because I want it pure. You can't get any better. You've just stated it. We know where it came from. We know, how it was processed, and we know, how it was prepared. I mean, and it doesn't get it to me, and that's a perfect example. Here and you and I are agreeing. But if we had a person in the middle, as you said, listening to this, how would they be viewing this? I'll throw that out. How do you think they'd be thinking about what we've been talking about the last 5 minutes?
Well, I think if a person in the middle that's indifferent and doesn't have a preconceived notion about what hunting is and what eating wild game is all about, I feel like if you give them an honest explanation of why it is that you enjoy hunting or I enjoy hunting or anybody has that conversation, and you can actually introduce them to some wild game, whether it be some venison tenderloin or fried turkey nuggets or any fresh caught fish, anything that you harvest out there, and they can taste it and they can see your passion and what you're about and why you enjoy taking that responsibility of knowing where your meat comes from. I don't think they can do anything but respect that. I certainly don't think that they can look at that in a negative light, especially with the argument of all the money that hunters as conservationists put back into, wild game, or I'm sorry, all the public land access that we have. I mean, for the most part, bird watchers, they're not footing the bill on keeping these public lands open and this access available to all of us. It's hunters. Hunters are the biggest conservationists out there. And I think if anybody listens long enough or looks deep enough into it, they'll see that. And they have to respect that. It's not the anti-hunters that are going to support wild game. We do more for wild game in the outdoors as hunters than anybody else does by far.
Yeah, I'll throw this out. I know a couple of birders, and I shouldn't say it like I know a couple of people that are professional birders, and I once said to them, I said, "What if all your camera equipment, which is as much as any hunter's equipment? I mean, some of those lenses and stuff, it's just incredible." Um,
Very.
I said, "So we take every time you buy a piece of camera gear, a portion of that goes to conservation. What do you think about that?" Well, there was no comeback. I said the conservation hunters, me, a hunter, has been every single time I buy a piece of gear, it goes. It's called the Pittman-Rasmussen Act, and it's distributed by the federal government to states, and there's a formula for that. But I said, why aren't birders included in that? Because you're non-consumptive. I get that, but you're using the same terrain that I am.
Absolutely.
Exactly. If exactly the same terrain, the same national forest. They're using all the public lands as I am, but they're not supporting it, financially.
And that's a great point. That's a great point. And that's conversations that really needs to be happening. With our legislative branch. I mean, it really needs to be happening because it's not just people that are out there bird watching. I mean, it's hikers, it's people that are just camping, really supporting, the funding and keeping these public lands open, and that's very important.
And so, folks, get involved in the discussion. I guess that's what Dave and I would say. get involved in the discussion of how to reach these middle people, one, and two, how we all should be part of the solution on public lands, because I know in Colorado on the national forest, we've got a big problem with weed growers, because Colorado is one of the states that, legally can smoke pot. And, and so there's people just going to national forests and becoming pot growers. Now, British Columbia has had that issue for a long, long time. It's a big cash crop up there, but you can get far enough away within a quarter mile of a national forest road, and you can have a grow that you're going to make enough money to support yourself for a year. That's the facts. And so, we've got another thing coming, that we all need to band together. Whether you're a hiker, a bird watcher, a fly fisherman, a camper, a hunter, we all are going to come into contact with these growers if you in fact use public land. There's no question about it. It's not when, it's not if, it's just when. So that's one thing I'm kind of raising a flag about. The people, because they really got to start becoming aware.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good that you're bringing that up, Bruce. Guys like myself out in the Midwest, we would never know that's even an issue if it weren't for folks like you bringing it up and making it a conversation.
Yeah, because I remember I was sheep hunting and we're on a track, a Forest Service road, quote, quote, and we came around the corner and there was a guy blocking the road and he didn't have a shirt on. He had a pair of long shorts, Doc Martens. I'm going to call them Doc Martens, high boots, and a 9mm. I'm going, holy fright. And I carry, so I'm going, what's the issue? Yeah. Well, we got a little situation here, and it's like, hey, I'm out of here, hands free, and my buddies, I said, keep your eyes on his gun. And he had, it could have been bad, but it was just a shock.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was doing. He did not want us to go up that trail. There's no question about it.
Yeah, that's not good. Not a good situation.
But you have to be, situational awareness saying, there's nothing we're doing here. Hey, buddy, I'm backing my truck out. We're out of here. Just, you'll never see, we're gone. There's no confrontation. There's no, hey, I want to go up the, no, just get the heck out of there, because it isn't worth where it could go. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And there's other guys that think, well, I have a right to be there. Well, yeah, but why ruin your hunt?
Yeah, go somewhere else.
Yeah, why ruin your hunt? I mean, because you have a confrontation there, your hunt's over.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Your just hunt's over. So anyway, that's kind of Friday morning losing. We've been talking about it. So just a little recap in the first 10 minutes of the show here is middle ground. Reach out to the people in middle ground, and you're going to hear this. I mean, you got people. Mark Kenyon is well regarded in the industry. He's a leader. He's got a great voice, and he's sharing it. I'm sharing it, and Dave's sharing it. But we've got to do a better job at this. And I'll get off this little rant I'm on right now and let's close up this portion, Dave.
Okay, sounds good.
You have anything more to add?
Yeah, I tell you what, Bruce, I would like to talk a little bit about hunting smaller parcels of land, using some mineral supplements and food plotting, that's more probably relevant to folks in the Midwest.
Okay. I meant as far as the middle ground thing. Do you have anything more to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's something that we all really need involved in. And it's something we can all make an impact on, whether it's, just somewhere we're at, could be out to dinner, could be at a bar, could be at your kid's baseball game or something, and somebody recognizes the fact that you're a hunter. Portray that in a positive light. Be careful of how you choose your words. Don't say I'm out there just shooting everything I can because I like to kill things. Present us in a positive light, because you, in a sense, represent everyone that goes out and hunts. You represent our hunting heritage at that point in time with that person that's listening to you.
And thanks for that. And folks, Dave just introduced the next segment about, he lives in the Midwest and food plots are a big part, and, hunting small parcels. And so let's jump right into it. What part do you want to take first?
Well, I guess I hear a lot of folks bring up the concern about, not being able to kind of manage their hunting property. properly. Like I can't food plot, or I can't make sure that I'm doing things that are good for my deer herd by putting mineral out. Whether or not it's an issue that you just have such a small parcel and you feel like you can't control, what deer live and what deer die. I mean, a lot of guys in my area, they're hunting 20-acre parcels, which is so tiny and minute when you think about how big some of the properties are out west. But and they're concerned about, well, if I pass this 2-year-old buck up or this 3-year-old buck up, that my neighbors are going to shoot them, and that very well may be the case. But there's so many things that can be done by us as land managers to try to improve our properties, to try to make sure that you got some of those deer that make it through, so you can kill more mature deer.
So let's talk about what are some of the things that if 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 I own a 20-acre property, called you up and said, hey, what do you think? Because we've got one side I've got people that are QDMA, thinking people. The other side, they'll shoot everything from fawns on up, and it's on their land, they're legal, and so they can. And then the other guy, it just depends who's on their land, and the fourth person is they don't hunt at all. So
Right. I mean, I
go ahead.
guess here's what I would say, and I want to preface this by saying there is absolutely nothing wrong with the guy that wants to go out there and shoot the first deer that he sees, the first legal deer. I support that 100%. If that's what your goals are, and you're just out there to enjoy the time out there, and you want to harvest an animal to feed your family, I support that 100%. And best of luck in doing that. But the thing I hear often is guys that say they want to kill that mature deer, but year in and year out, they're killing that year and a half old or that 2.5-year-old deer because they're concerned about their neighbor killing that deer. Well, obviously, your neighbor can't kill that deer if you shoot it yourself. But there's so many things that you can do to enhance your own property, even if it's a small parcel, to make that deer want to spend more time on your property. Obviously, where it's legal, you want to do supplemental feeding, put out a good quality mineral. There's some that just an attractant. Some of them are doing really good things for the deer herd's health. We prefer to use Real World's Maximizer Plus with Expect Healthy Deer technology. It's got a lot of probiotics in there, a lot of good things for the deer's overall health. So we use that, throughout the summer months, and then also, with food plotting, you can come up with a good strategy to have food year round, even on a small parcel, even if it's 2 acres of food or 3 acres of food. There's so many things you can put out that's going to help keep those deer on your property more often than not, and not run them over to your neighbor where they may get shot.
What I on the 20 acres, um, think about it. If you got a guy in QDMA, he's doing everything to grow his herd. He's trying his best. The neighbor, let's say the neighbor to the north, the neighbor to the east, he'll shoot because he's got a large family. He wants to eat deer. The guy in the south, he's kind of, they'll show up, but they're more social hunters, and they might hunt, they might not. So, and then you have the guy that doesn't hunt at all. So the guy to the west is a sanctuary. The guy to the north is a grower deer. The guy to the east is a consumer of deer. And you just don't know what the guy to the south is, but he's probably not enhancing his habitat. So you got a perfect. Right. You got 3 people, or actually four sides of you that are helping you do what you want to do, and there's only one person, so you got 3/4 of the equation to your favor. People don't think about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It all comes down to, what's a whitetail need? A whitetail needs, obviously, security for cover. They need food, and they need water, and they want to feel safe. I mean, that's the main thing. So it goes above and beyond just planning, making sure you have food there and making sure you have cover. It also means you got to do the right things when you're hunting those deer. You can't just go hunt every day on a 20-acre parcel of ground and expect those deer to stay there. You have to pick your days that are correct, where you can get in there easily and get out of there easily with the right wind direction, so that you're not running those deer out of there. You bump a mature deer one time off of a piece of property in the fall, good chance you won't lay eyes on that deer again on that piece of property. He's going to go over there, and the neighbor may shoot him.
Yeah, that's well said. Now, going back, on these small parcels, how do I set up my crops? Because I believe that you should have something available to deer where legal, 365 days a year. That's what I believe. So, how do we do that? How do I do that out of my 20?
Well, here's what we've done in the past, and it's worked really well. Let's just assume that you have a couple of acres that you can clear. Whether or not you own it or lease it, it's something that you can actually plant. The owner or the farmer has given you permission to do something with it to enhance the property. So what we're going to want to do is obviously it'd be nice if you can have some clover there, clover chicory, something that's going to start growing early in the spring, so those deer are eating that's palatable as soon as even before you start getting any kind of green up around. You want to have something there for them to eat. But that goes into, you don't want to have all clover because once you get a good hard frost, it's not as palatable for those deer. So it's really good if you can put out something like soybeans. Soybeans are fantastic late in the season, and if you can get them to a mature stage where there's a lot of pods there, the deer will eat on those all the way up until springtime hits the following year. So we like to use a lot of soybeans on our properties, and then when we can, we'll go back in the late August, early September, depending on where you're at geographically, and plant something that has more different seed types that are going to be something that they'll want to hit when it's warmer out. And I'm talking about your greens, basically. Your brassicas, those type of things with oats, any kind of wheats, anything like that. And of course, your clovers are going to be there as well. But that way, if you've got a warmer day where a whitetail's not going to want to eat soybeans, and I'm talking about in the grain stage, not the greenery part of the soybean. But that way, because those put off a lot of heat. There's a lot of oil content in soybeans, and that makes the deer warmer. So obviously, on those colder days, they're going to want to hit those soybeans. But on the warmer days, you're more apt to see those deer feeding in the greens. So it's pretty important to have both greens and grains available in the fall if you want to keep those deer on your property.
Now, when you think about your radishes in late fall, winter type food, when do you plant them so they'll carry over and they won't get hammered, but they'll be available when the deer needs that energy, those carbohydrates.
Yeah, I mean, every seed is going to be a little different. There's like 30 different types of turnips out there that you can plant. I'll say this, that we're partnered with Real World Wildlife Products, and we really like using their stuff because it's been tested a lot. They've tested tissue samples at different stages throughout the fall in cooperation with temperature level drops, so they know when those things are more palatable for the deer. But that's the important thing. Now with their blends, you want to plant those like I'm in southern Indiana, so I'm going to want to plant my stuff, my fall plots that's going to incorporate the turnips and all the different types. I'm going to want to the very end of August or the first week of September, and then hopefully you can time that before it rains so they get a good start. But if you plant those things, especially like oats, if you plant those things too early, they will mature so fast, or they'll mature at a rate where they won't green back up the next spring. So, and if you play that game right, you plant it late enough, it won't go to seed in the fall, so you don't have to worry about it dying off. It'll actually green back up the next spring, and much like clover, it's a good food source for the beginning of the following year, and it gives those deer a good kickstart and has them some nourishment there that otherwise they wouldn't have.
Folks, it isn't an easy thing, and one thing that I'd recommend to everybody, there's a lot of seed companies, but don't go to big box stores and just buy seed off the shelf unless you know exactly what you're doing. You can read that label and you say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. Because the emergence and everything that we're talking about, and Dave brings up a wonderful thing. Deer know exactly what they want to eat when they want to eat it. You and I, it's a science. It really is a science. And it's how their body can digest it. Deer in northern Wisconsin have been going to deer yards forever, and they're 100% on browse. That's all they're on. They're just on browse, and that's how they carry themselves through. The rest of the year, they move from here to here to here to different food sources. So you have to become a student. And I just finished Deer One, QDMA, Deer One stewardship, and I've only been hunting deer for 52 years, and I learned so much. It was like, are you kidding me? And it's a great class, and I'll give a shout out if you've never taken it. If you're serious about learning about deer and what deer need, it's a wonderful class. But what Dave said, it's just deer will go and they know what they need when they need it, and it doesn't matter what you have planted. You have to ask other people, okay, where's the science behind this? It isn't just grabbing clover and throwing it out, throw and grow type stuff. Be strategic, and the better you are, the more the deer are going to say, this has everything I need for every season of the year that I need it. See, to me, that's the key. It's providing the deer what they need when they need it.
It absolutely is, Bruce. You brought up a great point. It's all about, folks, educate yourself on, what is the best seed for the deer at different points in the season. Do a lot of research on that. And then also, if you're going to these big box stores and you're looking at the seed, read those seed tags. There's so much in tags there. They're going to tell you exactly the percentage that is seed in the bag, and then there's that inert matter there. That if that's a big number, if you've got like 40% of inert matter in that bag, that means you're only buying 60% of that bag of seed. So educate yourself, know what to plant, when to plant it, and there's so much information out there. You can get online and go to a reputable website or a Facebook page that's got a lot of knowledgeable folks on there. One that I get on often is Habitat Managers on Facebook. There's a lot of folks on there that really know what they're talking about, and they can give you some good information and good advice on what to plant and when to plant it.
Yeah, and Land and Legacy are good friends of mine. Adam Keith and Matt Dye, and I think they have really good information, and they'll answer your questions. They really will. And if you're not on the message boards or on social media, around people that are sharing information, find them, because, if you're, serious about, increasing the health of your herd, if you really are, you don't have to hire somebody to do it. You don't have to hire Land and Legacy to do it. There's people that are working, they don't have the time, so they hire those guys and say, figure it out for me, because I don't have the time to do it. There's a rising business, I know, where guys will go in and custom food plots, like custom harvesting, custom food plots now. They'll just come in and they'll manage your land the whole year, so you don't have to go out and buy the equipment and do the whole thing. If you put a pencil to it plus your time, that isn't actually a bad idea.
Yeah, not a bad way to go.
It's not a bad way to go. A lot of guys are farmers. I'm not. I've made so many mistakes with food plots, and now I'm working with the guy that land I hunt, and I'm getting his son and different people to say, okay, but I'm stupid. I just don't know this because I grew up. I grew up in New York, Long Island, New York. Give me a break.
Yeah. There's a learning curve there. There really is. And you're not going to have the perfect food plot the first year out. And look, folks, it doesn't have to look beautiful. I mean, it doesn't have to look like an ag field or anything like that. The number one point, the whole thing is feed your wildlife. I mean, that's what it's out there for. And I've heard guys complain about, well, I put this food plot out and the deer ate it down and I didn't even get a hunt over it. Well, so what? I mean, you fed the wildlife. You made a positive impact on your deer herd. So find something else to plant to follow that up so they have something to eat late season. I mean, it's a win-win. You can't lose by putting food in the ground for your wildlife.
Yeah, because anything that germinates is good. If it doesn't germinate, then you just threw dollar bills on the ground. I mean, let's face it. But if it germinates, then there's something positive happen, even if you didn't hunt over your food plot. Something you fed the turkeys, the squirrels, the rabbits, the grouse, the deer, whatever's hanging out. You fed them. So that's not all bad.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for sure.
Say, let's switch it up. Let's talk about your season last year. By your own admission, you killed two mature bucks, and more people, QDMA will tell you, there's a tick upwards to, let go and let grow type of mentality where people are letting, deer go and to see what's going to happen next year with them. And so a 6.5-year-old deer is a tough deer to harvest. In my experience, folks, once they hit 3.5 years old, you better know your stuff. I mean, you really better. 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 years, they've seen it all and they've survived it all. And the only reason they're that age is because they're really, really smart.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. I did have a great year. I was hunting a new property in Kentucky and worked our tails off. I can't take complete credit for this. My group that was hunting the farm with me, we did a great job of putting out food plots, running mineral sites, good reconnaissance with our cameras. We located some mature deer, and probably the oldest buck of the group, a buck that I call Rhino, came in on me the very first day that I hunted. I was able to hunt on Memorial Day. It was September 4th day, not Memorial Day. But then it was the first day I was able to hunt it with the right wind direction. He came in, gave me a great shot, 7.5-year-old deer, scored 150 inches in full velvet. Just a great hunt, one I'll never forget. In Indiana, I had a buck that was 6.5 that knew well, had pictures of from the time that he was 3.5 on up. And I thought maybe he had actually gotten harvested the year prior because I had no pictures of this deer when he was 5.5, no sightings at all. But I think it was something to do with the crop rotation. He just wasn't there. He went somewhere else. But we had pictures on when he was 4.5 within days. I mean, my brother hunts a farm that's a mile away from me, and he got pictures of this deer when he was 4.5 and 6.5 on the same day off of the same camera, the same tree. I got pictures of this deer when he was 4.5 and 6.5 during the same week time frame in the first week of November on the same ridge. We even named the ridge after him. I had a stand there, called it Curly Ridge, but we were kind of cursed with a whole bunch of east winds this past fall in that first week of November, and I couldn't get in there and hunt him, even though I knew he was there. And he lit up my camera every day. He was running that ridge consistently. But the fortunate thing was that I had some standing beans still planted, and we got a good cold snap consistently. To harvest him with a muzzleloader half. Giant deer by 8 inches is blessed with that deer than the size or anything.
So when you think about those two deer, the biggest thing that came to me is you only hunt them when the conditions were 100% perfect, rather than saying, well, I'm going to chance it or whatever. You were determined not to blow it because, as we said before, once you blow it on one of these bucks, they're gone. I mean, they're just gone.
Absolutely. And I'll attribute that totally to things that I've learned from other guys that are way more successful in the outdoors than I am. I would rather hunt one day a year if it's the right day and the right conditions than I would go out 20 times and do it in subpar conditions or do it with questionable wind directions or just days that big deer just don't move. I mean, and there are those days. If you've got a high pressure system and you've got the right wind direction, a good cold snap, anything like that, something to trigger those deer and get them on their feet, those big mature deer, those are the days that I want to key on and hunt. And I don't want to go in and risk it. You put a lot of effort into these deer, whether it's in the summer, you start by looking for their sheds the previous year, you're running cameras, you're feeding them in the summer, you're figuring out exactly where they're at, you're hanging tree stands. Why risk going in there hunting in a subpar situation with advantage? You don't have the right wind direction, and you're going to screw it up. So I'd rather make that one hunt count. And in both situations, I pretty much, you're going to be getting a call from me to that deer. I was very fortunate it done.
Yeah, I've got a friend, Jeff Helmers, in Wisconsin. He hunts 3 days a year. That's it.
3 days.
On 40 acres. He hunts 3 days a year.
And that's probably smart because on a 40-acre parcel, it's hard to get in there and hunt it a lot without blowing it out.
And, he's got all different types of people around him, but on his 40, 3 days a year, and, he kills, mature bucks every year. Are they 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, years old? But because of that, then it becomes that security place, the safe place, the sanctuary, all the rest of the year. He doesn't gun hunt it. He only archery hunts it.
Yeah, and that's wise. Bruce, I've got to move a little bit here as we're talking. I'm afraid my battery's going to run dead on me, so I'm going to go to a charger here and get this thing plugged in.
Okay. And folks, if you listen to this, Dave's moving right now, and just to let you know, technology-wise, there's a couple holes in the video here in the sound, which I can't enter out because they're only like 5 seconds or so. So I just apologize in advance, for these blips, and that's technology and that's bandwidth, so we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, I apologize about that, Bruce.
No, that's fine. Well, I got a little, we've had some fade ins, fade outs. I don't know if it's on your or my end, but I just apologize to the folks. Let's tell folks how to get a hold of you. Let's talk about, how to reach out to you, how to contact you, how to get on your show, the whole deal.
I appreciate that. Yeah. We've got a website, another one of those little blips there, Bruce. I apologize. ProTalkOutdoors.com. We're on Facebook, Pro Talk Outdoors, Instagram as well, Pro Talk Outdoors. Me personally, I'm on Facebook as Dave Barrett. You can look me up on Instagram as well. We've got a show called Interrupt on CarbonTV. Would really appreciate anybody checking that out. We'll be releasing season 2 for the fall, probably sometime late July, something like that. And then, we had a really successful turkey season, so we'll be releasing that stuff sometime after the whitetail season's over.
Let's get to what I know near and dear to your heart, conservation and hunter recruitment. And we've got 10, 15 minutes left, so let's spend the last part of the show just talking about those things, because I know you're a big proponent of conservation and hunter recruitment.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And any chance that I have to take advantage of the platform that, with the podcast or the videos or anything that we want to talk about, because those are the important things when you really think about it. I mean, it's something that I think a lot of folks take for granted because we've been able to hunt for years and years. But the given fact that the hunter numbers are dwindling. I mean, you look at 5-10 years ago, 7% of the public hunted, and now we're down to about 4%. We're becoming a smaller part of that minority, and we have to make sure that we're representing ourselves in the correct way. So hunter recruitment's huge. Something that I learned just recently we did a podcast with Mark Drurys, I mentioned before, and he had just recently met with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, and they brought up hunter recruitment and talking about the youth that had started taking advantage of the youth seasons, which a lot of states do a really good job of getting the kids out there first and giving them a good opportunity. But something that they talked about that I was really to find out that by and large, the majority of these kids that are going out in youth season hunting, whenever they're not eligible for that youth hunt anymore, they just disappear. They're not going back out and purchasing license and doing it on their own. It's like if they don't have a mentor taking them out hunting, they're just giving up. They're not participating anymore. So we have to do a better job of making sure that we're not just taking these kids out on canned hunts and setting them up. I think we need to do a better job of getting them involved with the entire process. Let them go out and help us put out mineral and food plots and check trail cameras and set up tree stands or ground blinds. Let them know the entire process so they have a little bit better understanding of what it's all about, and they have, more ownership of that success than just showing up on the day of the hunt and pulling the trigger. I think that would help out a huge deal.
So if I hear what you're saying, you and I are 365, hunters. Either we're talking about it, we're actively engaged in it, or we're listening to somebody talking about it. I mean, we're engaged in the process all year long. So, it's important to me to make sure the people that are mentoring or you're bringing along that they see the whole process. I guess that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm going to sound like an old codger here, Bruce. I don't want to sound like that at all. But and I think a lot of it goes back to it's the day and age where in our educational system, every kid gets a ribbon. If you're going to invite one kid to a birthday party, you got to invite the whole class. Everybody's entitled. We're raising an entitled generation right now, and I feel like if we make sure those kids are earning their success in the outdoors, they'll appreciate it a whole lot more. And that's not meant to discourage anybody or anything. It's kind of, but I do think we have to do a better job of letting these kids appreciate the entire hunting experience and not just going out there and sitting in the blind on the day that you actually hunt.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm talking to a guy named Chris Joe down in Alabama, and he's going to start doing things with his farm. They're ranchers and farmers down there, and they really want to get involved with youth recruitment. And that's his thought. They're going to see the whole process. It isn't just invite them out, make sure they get the tag, hunter safety, all that. Then they go in the stand and shoot a deer, but they don't see why the deer's there. They don't realize, how that deer got to be in that bean field.
Yeah, that's a very important aspect there. And what'd you say his name was?
Chris Joe.
Chris Joe?
Yeah, Chris Joe. And the Adventure of, and that's the name of his organization. He's just getting started. He's a 501c3, just getting started. And he reached out to me. I'd heard my show, and he reached out to me, so I'm trying to help him. And, I got in touch with the University of Montebello in William Crawford down there in Alabama, and they've got outdoor. They got an outdoor school, a full credit course curriculum, and
oh wow,
yeah, a course curriculum and outdoor scholars. Pardon me, William. I'm sorry that I didn't remember it, but outdoor scholars, and it's just growing in leaps and bounds. It just leaps and bounds because they're helping kids understand the whole process. So they'll graduate with either a degree in biology or wildlife management or something like that. So they'll get a 4-year degree, but they've seen the whole process. But it's both classroom and experiential. And so, what a great way to, take some kids and who want to be in it, not just in wildlife management, but they want to be in the whole process to teach other people how to enjoy the whole process. Does that make sense?
Oh, perfect. And I think that's a wonderful thing they're doing there. Hopefully that catches a little bit and carries.
Well, it's just going great. And William Crawford's the guy you need to get a hold of at the University of Montebello. Montebello. I don't know.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, so I mean that's something that we really need to be paying attention to as far as hunter recruitment goes. And as far as conservation, I really feel strongly that there's so many things that we can do as outdoorsmen that we're probably not doing a good enough job of, and it's not a financial thing necessarily. It can be an effort doing with Pro Talk Outdoors is taking a day and just going out to public grounds. It can be a private piece of property, but something that there's a lot of trash needs picked up out there. Whether or not it's close to a roadside and people are just littering, throwing stuff out. It doesn't take much time or effort to do that. But speaking from experience, I know I feel a whole lot better about myself after I get done working on a piece of state property or federal property, just cleaning up and just helping out the environment. Did I lose you, Bruce?
Yeah, we're losing. It's getting more perturbing to me because we're fading in and out, and I don't know if it's on my end or your end. But folks, I've had a great time because I can't hear Dave anymore. I don't know if you can hear me, but I've had a great time with Dave Barrett this morning with Pro Talk Outdoors, and we touched on a lot of things. We touched on meeting people middle ground. We touched people. We touched about how to manage your land, 20 acres and up, and also about conservation and recruitment. Dave, any final thoughts?
Just stay involved, folks. Get out there, enjoy the outdoors. At any point in time, I do want to say this. At any point in time, reach out to myself or anybody with Pro Talk Outdoors. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to hear on the show, anything that we can help you out with, be more than happy to help out in any way we can. That's That's why we do this. We don't do it for fame or fortune because we don't have either one of those things. We do it because we enjoy it. We enjoy talking to folks in the outdoors. So, reach out to us. Love to hear from you.
And with that, on behalf of thousands of listeners, we're almost 250,000 listeners all time on Whitetail Rendezvous. So, people here, hear the guests that I bring on, and it's just been a pleasure to have you on. I can't wait to have you on again because you're my type of people.
Absolutely, Bruce. Anytime, buddy. I love catching up with you and just shooting the breeze and seeing what's going on. I'm always a phone call away, buddy.
Okay, works for me.
Next up, we're heading to north central Minnesota with Eli Gazelle. And Eli has a blog called Whitetail Underground. He's got a YouTube channel the same, and you can find him on Facebook or Instagram. Eli likes to keep it real. And on the show, we're going to talk about reality TV. And sometimes what we see doesn't seem real to us. I know it doesn't seem real to me on some of the shows. And, what we don't see is all the B-roll. That goes into making a great TV show. So having said that, Eli came out and said, I want to tell people how it is, how I have to work so hard to find those bucks in the swamps. He's a DIY swamp hunter, can be found on Instagram, can be found on whitetailunderground.com, and also on Facebook. So the big takeaway from this show is Eli wants to make whitetail hunting fun for himself and fun for anybody that tunes in his YouTube channel or reads his blog. So make it fun with Eli coming up next.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.